Hey everyone, welcome to St. John and Paul Children's Liturgy for the Word at Home. We are celebrating the 28th Sunday of Ordinary Time. My name's Janet, and I have found the other day when I was cleaning the house, I found this doll. Now this doll was my mother's, so this is almost 100 years old. She grew up very, very poor. So I know that this doll was a treasure to her, and it's a treasure to me that I got to have it. And it's a doll, of course, of a bride. And who doesn't like the bride? The pretty clothes, who doesn't like a wedding? You got the clothes, the fancy clothes you get to wear, and then, of course, there's the party. Everybody likes the party. There's lots of food and music, family and friends. Well, today Jesus tells us a story about a wedding, and I want you to listen carefully and hear what he has to say. A reading from the Gospel of Matthew. Lord, keep your words on my mind, on my lips, and in my heart. Jesus again used parables in talking to the people. The kingdom of heaven is like this. Once there was a king who prepared a wedding feast for his son. He sent his servants to tell the invited guests to come to the feast, but they did not want to come. So he sent another messenger with this message for the guests. My feast is ready now. My steers and prize calves have been butchered, and everything is ready. Come to the wedding feast. But the invited guests paid no attention and went about their business, one to the farm, another to his store. Then he called his servants and said, My wedding feast is ready, but the people I invited did not deserve it. So now, go out to the main streets and invite to the feast as many people as you can find. So the servants went out into the streets and gathered all the people they could find, good and bad alike, and the wedding hall was filled with people. So what happened in this story? We know that Jesus told stories that are called parables, and they are stories with a lesson. So let's try and figure out what the lesson is here. The king, whose son was getting married, so that's the prince, who wouldn't go to the wedding of a prince, but people said, nah, I've got other things to do. So he went down the list, he sent out his servants, and finally he said, we'll just have a party, and we'll invite everyone who wants to come. Go out in the streets, just go get them. Now, in the society back then, people who lived in the streets, they were very poor, and they didn't have pretty clothes, and they didn't have a gift or anything, but the king didn't care. He said, hey, we've got this wedding feast. Bring them in. So what's the lesson here? The lesson is that God invites all of us to a feast. Some accept that feast and come, and some don't. So imagine what you would feel like if you were going to have a party and you invited friends and family, you helped cook the meals, you got on your pretty clothes, nice clean clothes, you got the house all cleaned up, and nobody came. That wouldn't be too cool, would it? So what do? I don't know. What would you do? I'd probably pack up the food and take it down to the homeless shelter or something. But you'd be disappointed and hurt because the people you thought would come didn't come. And so probably that's what Jesus was trying to say. When God provides a feast for us, our lives, and all the good things that are in our lives, that's just a gift. That's God's grace that comes to us. We don't deserve it. We don't have to ask for it. He just gives it. All we have to do is come to God. God gives us a feast every week too when we come to Mass. When we go to Eucharist, that's a feast for us. And when we go, we are filled with Jesus, and we are to go about and do what Jesus wants us to do. Some accept that feast, and others stay away. So this week, why don't you think about this? Think about when you accept all the good things that God gives to us, and then sometimes you don't. You walk away from the good things, and you do things that maybe God doesn't want us to do. Maybe you raise your voice in anger, maybe you're selfish with your toys, and maybe you grumble with your mom or your dad. Think about those things that God really wants us to do. His grace is free. His grace is given to us. All we have to do is accept it, and that's all you have to do too. So listen up next week, and we'll see what other stories Jesus tells us.